They should start kicking ass, just like it said at the beginning of the program.
Man of the hour, tower of terror, too sweet to be sour.
Sending your ass on the jabroni jet to the other side of the territory, brother.
The Alabama Hammer.
Nightmares are the best part of my day.
The goods from the wood.
Hot damn.
Welcome to the Goods from the Woods. My name is Rivers Langley.
I'm Pat Riley.
I'm looking at the man of the hour, the tower of power, and still too sweet to be sour.
Welcome to the Studcast, everybody.
Yes.
And we are studs tonight and every night.
And today we are
Well,
joined.
no. We're not the Studcast. We're a Studcast.
Yeah, it's us and who's the guy we
Ron Fuller.
Ron Fuller. There we
Yeah.
go. Shout out to Mr. Fuller up there, and I'm going to presume Georgia. He might be a lake
Tennessee.
guy. He might be a lake guy up there in Hendersonville, maybe.
No,
but
I don't know about that. He's command of the stud stable. You understand?
but yeah, today is all about fresh water and the people who dwell by it.
Or even the salty and
The salty brackish of the intercoastal waterways.
Yeah.
And we are joined by the co-host of Bleak and Review, one of my favorite new podcasts, my friend.
Kevin Anderson.
Kevin Anderson is here. Yes.
Recovering lake person.
The recovering lake person. So
Recovering on a boat, I hope.
Oh God, that's the dream, right? That's the dream. That's how you become a lake professionals, when you have a boat. Because the lake people I'm talking about are shore people.
Right.
They're not on boats usually. And if they
Yeah.
are, they're not master crafts.
yeah.
They're usually like that kind of idea where it's like, yeah, I know it's a hole you throw money into, but
But I got it. I got the money to throw away, and I make bad decisions, and I stand by them.
So where are you from, first of all?
Sacramento, right outside Sacramento, about halfway between downtown Sacramento and Folsom Prison.
oh, really? I didn't know you were Californian.
Yeah,
I always
yeah.
thought that you were from.
But
you
it's
know.
it's the Northern California is so different. Like, because I moved down here and I felt like it's a completely different state, because like the whole idea of a lake person is so not Southern California. I feel like
because we don't have standing water.
yeah, exactly.
Well, they do have the Lakers, though.
They do have that. There's Laker people down here for sure.
Is that Brian Regan's joke from like his half-hour special from where he's just like, oh, well, Los Angeles is called the Lakers where they don't have lakes, and Utah is called the Jazz where they don't allow music.
It's a Laker person. That's my Brian Regan.
I
I'm working
believe
on that.
that's, I think that's Brian Regan
I think
from
it could be.
1998.
Was he the guy that used to be the president?
He's the reason we have so many mentally unstable homeless people.
Yeah, that's
it's
right.
Brian
Yeah,
Regan's fault.
Brian Regan opened up the mental hospital.
Now, Lakers people are awesome in their own certain way.
Well, I don't know
there's
about that one. I'm a Celtics fan. You know?
Oh, there you go.
I just know Jack Nicholson and Lou Adler. Those
Yeah,
are the only
Jack
two.
Nicholson, it's on his bucket list when he dies to be stuffed courtside at the Staples
That's
Center.
actually the plot of his film, The Bucket List, that he's in.
That's the last one, right?
Yeah,
That's the
at
last
the end
one.
of the movie, him and Morgan Freeman are stuffed like polar bears.
Come on, is that a spoiler alert?
for the upcoming bucket list too.
That would be fucking amazing if that's the end of that movie where they're just taxidermied next to the Lakers.
No, they just retire their corpses up by the jersey.
Well, then they could eventually be in a Planet of the Apes that way.
Oh my god.
But the Lakers people that I like is like the stereotype where they it's the guy with the black button down shirt that has the fake tan, kind of looks like Mickey Rooney now. And a lot of rings.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
That's the Lakers stereotype. That is also I was recently at a taco truck at about 2 a.m. My sleep schedule was all thrown off. This is right when I got back. I went to Ireland back in the fall. Came back, my sleep schedule was just fucked. And I woke up late. The only thing open at that hour, that's not fast food, is a taco truck. So I was like, I'll get some tacos. And I go to the taco truck, and it's me and all of the bouncers from West Hollywood, all of whom are almost exactly what you just described.
Yeah,
Weirdly, I don't know how bouncers get plastic surgery, but they all had weird noses and they were shiny skin, where I was just like, do you guys make enough money bouncing in
Are
clubs
these
in West
bouncers or
Hollywood?
youth pastors?
Yeah, they all look like Joel,
Yeah, but these
Mexican
guys,
Joel Osteen.
So it's like it's
Cholo Steen.
Put that on TBN salsa.
But the guys at the Lakers game are usually the guys that are the mini versions of those guys.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. They're the smaller versions. Like they're not bouncers because they wouldn't be.
Because Lakers fans do everything half-assed.
Yeah.
Well, I do have to tell you what one of them I overheard while I'm waiting for my taco. One of the guy goes, like they were sharing, because as soon as those clubs close, they all just kind of coalesce right there. It's if you want to go check it out, if you're in Los Angeles, it's the taco truck. There's two of them on Western and the 101, and they're open till like 5 in the fucking morning. And so all of the bouncers go there. And I heard this guy talking about like some rich person's birthday party. He was like, yeah, man, she had like a mini bar built into a coffin, and there was 6 people carrying around a bartender in a coffin, and she was like serving drinks out of the coffin. Like she had like the bartender had pallbearers carrying her around to the tables, and it was just like the empire should burn. It's just like, we deserve everything.
The only
Monsters post-prom party or something.
The only way that would be acceptable in my eyes is if it was a kiss coffin.
All right, shout out to, in Boston. Shit, I'm gonna forget his name. But
Gene Simmons.
No. Rick Canavan. He once said.
Who was that guy?
But his joke was the kiss coffin for when you want your funeral to be sad in the wrong way.
So right outside Folsom,
Yes.
it's actually the place we would go to all the time in question for all these lake people was it's called Lake Natomas, which is part of the American River right before the dam, and it was notorious for people go there, they raft down it, just get blackout drunk.
American River sounds like a generic brand of clothes that they'd sell at JCPenney.
Yeah, oh yeah. No.
Oh, see, I was thinking 92.7 American River.
No, that was 106.5, but yes, that was the one. That was the one. They were only played
Working on a
Creed.
night moves.
It was Bob Seger and Credence, and that was it. That was all.
Fuck yeah. That's perfect
Rolling
lake
on the
music.
American River. Oh no, for sure. Like that.
Yeah,
that
maybe
sound
Grand
just-
Funk Railroad.
a little bit of that.
Well, look, when you're on the lake, you sleep all day, you're out all night, but you know where you're going.
I had a buddy of mine say that he was visiting his family up in Pittsburgh, and he went to this bar where there was a James Gang cover band.
They were just playing Funk 49 and Rocky Mountain Way over and over.
Well, that
Different genre covers of it over and over again.
for like 40 minutes.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, they do have that song. I forgot about that one. You gotta go, but you know.
We used to have a good Joe Walsh, but the Eagles cover band done snatched him up.
Oh, shout out, R.I.P.
Oh, man.
So American River.
Hold the phone.
No, Joe.
Oh, nobody's
Walsh.
dead. I just meant like that cover band.
Oh, yeah.
Their original
I thought for a
lineup.
second that Joe Walsh had
Breaking
died.
news: Kevin Anderson goes on Goods from the Woods.
No, Tom Petty died on our podcast.
Oh,
actually.
shit.
That's
Yeah,
true.
yeah.
Well, not
That's a good
in
guess
this
you got.
room.
Not in the room, but while we were broadcasting.
Oh man,
Yeah.
that's always fun.
You could get the
Joe
play-by-play.
Joe Walsh is going to be the last surviving member of the Eagles.
Yeah, I hope. I mean, you know.
In the same way in which
Hopefully.
Ringo is going to be the last remaining Beatle, and Keith Richards is going to be the last remaining
Hagar
Rolling
is the
Stone.
last of the
just to piss off the fans. Sammy Hagar is going to live the longest.
That's what they say. The cure, the cure for a long life is it's just spite. Like as if you're just existing purely out of spite, you'll live to 120. It's great.
Yeah.
But we would go all the time in the summer, and it gets hot as fuck up in Sacramento in the summer. It's like triple digit weather all day, and most of the time we'd be skateboarding, but sometimes it's just too hot, so you just go to the river. And I was never one of those like blackout drunk at the river people. Like I saw them all the time. We went to go jump off cliffs,
And we should say the American River, by the
Yes.
way, is home of Sutter's Mill. That's
true.
That's the gold rush.
That's exactly true. Yeah. There's and it goes for forever. But the main part that we would go to, we did go to parts near Sutter's as well, where we would jump off a bridge, which is another story. But there's this place called China
Hi,
Wall.
I'm Kevin Anderson. Welcome to Jackass.
Welcome to the Jackass knockoff I made and sold at my school for $5.
Did you do that?
Oh, for sure.
I
Yeah,
did that too.
Oh my god,
Yeah.
I knew there was a reason I liked it.
Do you ever think that maybe that's one of them things like finding porn in the woods, and that's because everybody did it?
Yeah.
And everybody's like, well, I did something special. Nope, you
No,
did
no.
something incredibly mundane.
We were all bored youths. We found traipsed the woods. We would go to a place called China Wall, though. That was like our main hang.
Oh, the Doobie Brothers made a song
Yeah,
about
yeah.
that one.
Yeah, no, they're cover band.
I think, all the members from a Steely Dan cover band that broke up ended up in that cover band. And then the Michael McDonald guy totally changed their sound.
But the Jeff Baxter cover band guy eventually ran for cover Congress, but didn't get in.
Well, he's blogging on that right wing stuff all the time.
Is there one more layer? We get one more deeper? No,
I don't know.
I was excited.
I will say this about Steely Dan. They were smart in the early days because they made sure they surrounded themselves by really like cool looking session musicians, so nobody would notice what the two main Steely Dan guys looked like, because they look like they should not be allowed outside the house without adult supervision.
Well, especially after Hey 19. I mean, come on.
Yeah, that's true. That shows you that fame will get you anything, because any 19-year-old girl that looks at Walter Fagan or Donald Becker, whichever one of them guys was, and says, that is something I want a piece of. Honey, you must not have met too many men before this point.
Yeah,
they get a whole lot better than that.
They look like what those guys look like is, you've ever seen the photograph of like the founding members of Microsoft
In the garage? In the garage? Yeah.
They look like that.
Just rocking the khaki like pants, high water pants and everything. Yeah.
So
definitely.
what are the towns around this reservoir?
Okay, so we're kind of in between Fair Oaks, Orangevale, and Folsom. That's kind of the trifecta that this surrounds. Folsom being famous for the prison, of course.
Right, yeah.
Can you hear the
Orangevale-
train a coming when you're there?
You actually can. It's pretty cool. I mean, you got to get real close to the prison to do that.
Right,
but,
right.
but it's there.
Okay.
And then Orangevale, famous for being one of the most racist places in California, apparently, according to a study when I was in high school.
Okay.
And then Fair
Besides
Oaks
the prison system.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, outside of the walls of Folsom Prison, this was the most. They were the most race gangs.
Yeah, the Aryan Brotherhood is just loose there.
yeah. That's like their waiting room. It's Orangevale. So yeah, somewhere in between all that was this perfect just like ecosystem of just like daring God to kill you, because it's like it's reckless bullshit that you do when you're young. Like the China Wall was the main spot at this area, and it was a 58-foot cliff.
And knowing California, by the way, it's probably called China Wall for some horrific reason.
Oh yeah, there's not a
For
good
sure,
backstory.
people were shot up against it, right?
Yeah, it's near Orangevale, so I'll just say probably. I don't know the origin of the name, to be honest. Red Bridge, I can tell you, is called that because it's a red bridge.
Okay, well,
that one checked.
that was the working title for the Golden Gate. And then
It's the Red Bridge.
Let's get to the meat of it. How high was it? How far did you jump off it? And how high were y'all when you did it?
Okay, that's a great. Let me answer that question by asking you this question. No, 58 feet, I believe, but it was a sloped thing, so you had to run and jump. You couldn't do a standing jump off it because you'd hit the thing on the way down.
Yeah, you got to get some clearance.
So you get a good running start, and you wear your lake shoes, as you got to have when you're jumping off things at the lake. You got to have old pair of skate shoes that you don't use anymore.
Boy.
And also it hurts your feet when you hit the water at that high.
yeah.
So, and then so about 58 feet, you get a 20-foot maybe head start. I would just run as fast as I could, because why wouldn't you at that point?
Right.
I've seen enough people fall down it that, and that's another thing we'll get to, all the pain that I've seen there. But
Yeah.
and so about 58 feet, and then you had to literally like somebody like with a pickaxe like carved a little back and forth up to climb back up. So even getting back up was probably more dangerous than jumping, because you had to like hug the wall and kind of scoot sideways up this like sharp back and forth kind of sidewinder trail thing. And is a night. I can't believe I'm not dead. Like, it's insane. We did it every day.
When you were describing that, in my head mentally, I could just hear you talking, but in the background, like Seven Dust is playing.
Pretty close. I would say probably at that time in my life, I would say maybe Dropkick Murphys. That was
Okay.
probably what was happening.
God, if I was listening to
just
that,
the
I'd jump
action.
80 feet.
Yeah, no, for
too.
sure. I thought you just meant my emotional soundtrack.
No, not your emotional sound.
yeah,
I mean,
yeah.
like,
No, that is accurate. Yeah.
yeah, it's a very new metal thing to do.
Yeah, it was. And that was, a lot of river people are very new metal. Like,
Yeah.
You
They
see a
still
lot
are.
of them.
They still are.
Dare we
They
say
still
they're
are.
fairly butt rock?
Yeah. No, they still are to this day. If I go back, because I'm beach people.
Yeah.
Team Beach people over
Yeah,
there.
and if you go, there's always like a thing where if you go, there's a barrier island. So they're like a barrier island beach, which is a special type of beach person. Beach people, it's always sublime
Yep.
all the time, but occasionally they will throw in some really bad new metal song, like
Just to mix it up a little
Just
bit.
mix it up a little bit, but it isn't like something like playing the Deftones. It's like something like the cover of Careless Whisper that like
Seether, I believe was that. Deftones also one of the only bands that come out of Sacramento that like ever like Cake and Deftones. That's about it.
Oh,
yeah.
I always forget about that. I love Cake. They're one of my favorite
Cake's
bands.
great. I think they hold up. Oh, Brother Lynch Hung also. If you guys are familiar, he's a guy who raps about eating babies. He's really weird.
Oh, okay.
So that's kind of that's the kind of three people you get in Sacramento's Deftones, Cake, and then Brother Lynch
Okay.
Hung.
The one little fact I know
Sounds
about
like the place should be bombed off the face of the earth.
the one thing I know about Cake is that everybody who's left the band then joined another band, and there are actually more original members of Cake in the band Death Ray than there are in
Really?
Cake.
Oh, that's
Yeah.
interesting. I didn't know that.
It's literally just the singer and the trumpet player, the only two original members of Cake, and the rest of the band is in a band called Death Ray.
That's great. It's like that old philosophical problems. Like if you replace every member, is it still the same band, even if it's
Can
still
you
called
go
Cake?
the distance?
Yeah, exactly. Also at China Wall, there was an abandoned pump house station that was so it was like it was sitting in the water, but it had no roof on anymore. It was just basically a big concrete rectangle.
Yeah.
That you could. There was actually a door that didn't have a door on it underwater, so you could swim in under the door and then be inside the thing, or you could just jump in. But the thing that we would do, it's
Hold on.
it's gross.
I have a question. And I genuinely don't know the answer to
Okay.
this. Are there snakes in the fucking water?
Oh yeah.
Okay,
Yeah, yeah.
that's what I thought. Because like California, like I don't, the snakes I'm aware of here obviously are the rattlesnakes, and California mountain snake, and then the non-poisonous ones. Are there moccasins and shit? Like, are there water?
So there's some water moccasins. It's more rattlesnake heavy in this area,
Right,
but they're a brush snake, so they're around everything we're
Okay.
doing all the time when we're there. But in the water, there's not a lot of
Okay,
snakes. But
that's,
in that area,
that's
for sure.
the thing that in the South that's like the most horrifying thing. When you say there's a half-sunken pump
Oh yeah,
house,
yeah.
fuck you. That is
All of the
literally-
snakes. All of the snakes.
They're all. It's like Raiders of the Lost Ark. You just open it and there's just the floors made of snakes.
Strictly speaking, it's called the Snake Farm.
Yeah, it just sounds nasty.
always on your side.
Pretty much is.
That shit is horrifying.
Yeah,
and fuck that. Mm-hmm. Yeah,
I saw two snakes fuck there once. I've never.
Well, that's where more snakes have to come from.
I just never had seen it before, and it looked like I thought they were fighting for a second. They basically just wrapped themselves
well, I
around
was gonna
each
say
other.
if snakes 69, it's called an Ouroboros.
Well, is that ass to mouth?
Yeah, it's just a zero. But yeah,
it's a zero.
they call that a Texas hoop snake.
Oh
Baby
man, if
snakes
that's not
are-
on Urban Dictionary by the time this episode drops.
I love that this episode we have a little bit of green porn in this episode. I think is what they call that on the old Sundance channel. So there's a half sunken pump house potentially with snakes.
Possibly snakes, definitely gross, like just in general, because that's the it's standing water most of the time. When they let the dam out, the water's moving a little more. That's when it's really cold. But when you're in this pump house, that's standing green, gross water.
Right.
And there was so the thing was probably about 20, 25 feet long, and at the bottom of the pump house, maybe 5-6 feet down in the water, once you're inside, there was this, I guess like a countertop sort of thing that had just the concrete box of a countertop that was
Right.
hollow, so you could swim through it. But it was fucking horrifying because it was like the size of like two people like swimming on top of each other is
Yeah.
about how tall it was. And that was like a thing that we all had to do as some rite of initiation was swim the length of that underwater. And if you've ever gotten nervous just playing Tomb Raider when you're doing
Right,
a
that's
water
what this
level,
sounds like, yeah.
it's really real when you do it.
Yeah.
I think that's where I got my claustrophobia from.
I bet.
or at least discovered.
And that's like one of my biggest irrational fears because it's something I would never do. But like underwater cave diving and getting
yeah.
lost in the cave.
Oh, yeah.
Now
Spelunking, yeah.
it makes it so much worse if you're just in the country in Sacramento. You're like, oh fuck, this is where it's gonna.
This is where it's gonna
I'm
go?
not even in Bermuda or somewhere cool.
Yeah, no, they're gonna
I'm in a
find my
fucking
body next to a
half-
bunch of Coors Light cans.
Half sunken pump house as I hear the muffled sounds of rolling above, just out of reach in the water above me.
Maybe the Undertaker's showing up to rescue you in case you drown.
Oh yeah, Undertaker's a lifeguard. Where's that series?
That's when they called him Booger,
Booger
Red.
Red, because that was when he got sunburned. There's Booger Red.
Rolling up on the air raid vehicle.
But I was gonna say before I go into more stories about this thing, do you guys have experiences with? I mean, we were talking a little bit before the show about your experiences with like lake or river people or beach people.
So ours was,
the kind of people that it attracts, I guess.
Yeah. Well, I have so two things. My place that like this that you're describing was Lake Martin, which Goodnight and I actually went to after the boogie this year. Remember, we went to the lake house and we were sitting on the porch with Moss Man.
Yeah, but that was a bunch of people at Lake House.
That's the lake I'm talking about, though. That's
that's the lake.
That's Lake Martin. Yeah. So where I'm from, when you refer to the lake, it's Lake Martin, and Lake Martin is it's the biggest lake in Alabama, and it was created by the damming of the Tallapoosa River.
Okay.
And there's actually a town called Tallapoosa underneath Lake Martin that they when they dammed up the river in the TVA during the 1930s.
Now it's called Atlantis, actually.
yeah. There's a whole town underneath, and so they had to like clear out the town, like get the town charter out of the courthouse and stuff.
Oh man!
And like the whole remnants of this town is like in a museum up there in Tallapoosa County somewhere.
So did they just get everybody all the vital things out and then just flood it, or did they take everything physically?
Eminent domain, because it was the TVA, it was a government project, so they eminent domained and were like, well, they recompensated people for the land and the home and stuff like that, but they forced everybody out. It was a town. It was a fucking town.
Damn.
And it's now underneath the biggest lake in Alabama. It's a bit like the plot of "O Brother, Where Art Thou?" If you've seen that. But yeah, there's literally.
Is that a spoiler alert again?
No, it's the first like couple minutes of the movie.
Okay.
It's 5 minutes in.
I mean, if you've read the Odyssey, I mean, it's already.
Yeah, it's right there. It's all laid out for you by Homer.
Remember when Zeus floods Ithaca?
Yeah, that's right. So that's
Okay.
Lake Martin. And so when I say the lake, I mean Lake Martin. And Lake Martin has exactly what you're talking about. Like the best way to describe it is like the people who are just very, very that live at the lake. You can tell they're the types of people who, when they get drunk, they've all given the same speech about why they only live at the lake and why you should live at the lake or the beach or the river. And it's like, you can just imagine this guy has got his wraparound Oakley blade sunglasses, big straw hat.
Oh, straw hat. Okay.
Sunburned belly, fucking hair all over his gut. Sitting there in a fucking,
you're like a fading yellow tank top.
Yeah.
With something that makes no sense. Like
Right.
Bad dog.
Looking like
It's a big dog knockoff. It's like a bad dog.
with 2 D's. Looking like a sunburned Bill Dotree. Just sitting there and just being like, listen, I'm the one that's got it figured out. I know I'm drunk right now, and I know I don't have any fucking money at the moment because Jeanette needs her goddamn alimony. But the lake, man, I got everything I need here. I got the store, they sell beer, and I got the bar. I got Colonel Tom's, which is the bar, and I'll get into Colonel Tom's in a minute. I got Colonel Tom's right down the fucking road. The sheriff don't even care if I drive drunk. That guy is universal. I think he is as American as a trope as you will find in any Mark Twain book.
Literally replace the straw hat with a Fox racing hat, and that's Sacramento. That's exactly the guy.
But
Let me tell you something. George St. Pierre is the greatest UFC fighter I have ever seen.
That is so true. That is exactly the guy in Sacramento. Sacramento's got a big demographic.
It's like if Jean-Claude Van Damme was a real person.
dude.
Oh my goodness.
They always end it with some point that's completely unrelated.
Right.
Yeah.
There was
And the FSU sucks.
there is up at Lake Martin, and the Lake Martin is surrounded by several communities. The southern end of Lake Martin is called Dadeville. The northern end of Lake Martin is called Alexander City. To the east, you have Jackson's Gap, and to the west, you have Kalijah. And
like the song Kalijah.
So yeah, exactly. So Hank Williams was born and raised in Georgiana, Alabama, made his career in Montgomery. Kalijah was a nearby resort town for Montgomery, essentially, because it's not that far of a drive from Montgomery.
Isn't any wonder?
And so Hank Williams, one of his famous songs is called Kalijah. It's about a wooden cigar store Indian who has a crush on the wooden cigar store Indian across the way, and he
like the Seinfeld episode,
right? Yeah, exactly. And he named the song Kalijah and gave that name to the Indian because that was a nearby place that was
cool.
the lake for Montgomery.
The poor old wooden head.
Right. But near the Dadeville Inn, which is where my friends who have I have several friends with lake houses in that area. Dadeville, and they're not lake people; they just have a lake house. Lake people, you have to live there full time.
Yeah. You gotta commit to it.
Yeah. But yeah, right near Dadeville, and anybody, if, I know we got a lot of listeners down in Alabama. You can tweet at us at the Goods Pod if you have a Colonel Tom's story, because most people do, because Colonel Tom's is like the most fucked place in the world. Colonel Tom's is the bar.
I love by the way, I just love those bars. Like it's because it's the bar in that area, right? It's like that's where
for the most part.
Yeah. God, it's so
I
fun.
think there was a pretender to the throne at one point, but I'm not even sure if Colonel Tom's still exists. The last time I drove by, the sign just said like "will reopen soon." So who the fuck knows? Colonel Tom's is
I'm surprised it isn't on fire.
Well, wait till you hear what it is. Colonel Tom's is 2 double wide trailers, so it's a quadruple wide trailer.
Oh yeah, like the old Lenny's.
Yeah, and they're right next to each other. And here's how shitty Colonel Tom's is. Colonel Tom's has on the menu Jello shots.
Ooh. And not any specific like flavor to them. It sounds like it's
they're
just
all
Jello.
flavors.
But I mean, like it just says on the menu, not like vodka or anything. It just says Jello shots.
It's dollar Jello shots,
Yep,
and they
yep.
make them fuckers with Everclear, not vodka.
Oh, that makes sense.
Oh, I
Yeah,
thought
yeah.
they were the pre-packaged ones that had like the like it's a little. It looks like a little mini single
serving.
Yeah.
like Jello that you would get in your lunchbox
this
at
shit
school
sounds
with the
good, though.
with the like the foil top on it. So
Oh,
it's
yeah.
like
Right,
pre-mixed,
right.
like the.
Well, they do pocket shots. Have you seen pocket shots before? It's just a little felt container of like 2 shots worth of an alcohol. It's made for sneaking them into music venues. Like that's all they exist for.
Okay. My favorite thing I ever heard about Colonel Tom's, by the way, my friend Scarlett, she told me the story where they rolled up at Colonel Tom's one night, and they were in the process of throwing a woman out of the bar because she'd become too crazy, and they were like pulling her out of the bar. And like the people were like just trying to get her out, and she was just fucking screaming at them. So right when they pull up, she's like, "Don't get me riled, motherfucker! Don't get me riled!" Like that. And they're pulling her out, and then she says the most amazing thing, which is like, "You can't do this to me. I'm George Jones' daughter."
Oh man.
And we never confirmed whether that was true. I don't fucking doubt it, just based on just what I know of the possum, No Show Jones.
Well, but also
I bet.
those places, like they're always like everybody is like related to like either directly related
Yeah.
or like the cousin of some like
but the
lower level celebrity.
Right. But that part of like Alabama, it's too far away from Nashville to where it really makes sense.
Yeah.
But also like maybe.
It's not out of the realm
she
of
arrived
possibility.
there because she was born in Nashville, but was
Yeah.
drawn in.
Maybe
by-
that's her shtick. Like, remember that guy was going around pretending he was Terry Jacks?
But then just the little addendum to this, Scarlett's sister moved out of the house because she graduated college, so she was going, and so they had a yard sale where they were selling stuff, and Scarlett put up signs all over town that said yard sale with the date and the address, and then it says George Jones's daughter will be there.
Celebrity appearance from George Jones' daughter.
Jones's daughters.
Well, I've been working hard the whole week long. Tonight I'm gonna have some wine, women, and song. I'm gonna go where the lights are bright. I've got $5 and it's Saturday night. Gonna have fun tonight. Gonna get right tonight. Everything will be alright because tonight is Saturday night. Hey!
We had a bar/music venue in Sacramento called the Boardwalk, which is like, for some reason, a bunch of people played, like famous or relatively famous people, like right before they got big, they would go through because that's the only place to play in Orangevale.
Yeah.
Trashiest fucking place in the world.
Yeah.
And I ran into a guy there one night who 1 year before that, in the summertime, I had seen at China Wall. And this guy was a friend of a friend.
China Wall legend, bro.
Dude, this is a China Wall classic right here, dude. Oakley shades, Fox Racing hat, Affliction tee, strap-on sandals, and a cooler full of vodka. And that was the thing, is that when we go cliff jumping, we would not drink like maybe we'd have a beer or two, but some people would just go and just get tanked at the.
Yeah.
But we respected the fact that we were jumping off of cliffs.
Yeah,
So we weren't
yeah.
going to get drunk and do that.
Right.
And this guy, he was a friend of a friend, and he was drinking heavy the whole time that we were there. And we're standing at the top of China Wall, which, by the way, is about 30 feet long where you can jump, and they put a 10-foot fence there. So on either side, there's 15 feet where you can still jump. Like, that was their
Yeah.
big, like, oh, we're going to prevent this from happening. And so there's plenty of room to still jump. And this guy, we're just looking over the edge like, oh, like, yeah, this is where you jump and stuff like that. And then from behind us, we just hear the softest pitter-patter of sandals flapping on gravel. And old Affliction Mick Vodka Tank
boy.
starts clopping up to the edge of the cliff at like a slow gait, you know, and jumps like at the wrong place where you're not supposed to jump because it's even further there, like straight up, and then just kind of falls down. And we look over and they're like, did he make it? And then we just, because it's kind of hard to see over the whole thing.
Right.
And then we just see him float up face down. And I go, no, he didn't make
Oh,
it because he's
fuck.
unconscious in the water right now.
Oh, Jesus.
And so everybody somehow just immediately turned, screamed at me to jump in after him. I don't know why, like, everyone unanimously decided in the moment that I was the guy that was going to go in. And, like, I am not a big, strong guy. Like, I can barely carry, like, he was way bigger than me. He was, like, probably Pat's height and then, like, maybe then some on the sides. You know what I mean?
Right.
And I'm a thin waif. So I get in there and I get his head out of the water. And it turns
Yeah.
out what happened is he had fractured several discs in his spine. 'Cause he hit the wall on the way down.
Oh, God.
And he was unconscious, doing that weird shock breathing you do when you hit when that shit's happening.
Yeah, yeah.
And as I'm like sitting there barely keeping him out of the water so we can breathe, I'm screaming for someone else, for the love of God,
Yeah,
jump
get
down
in
here.
you idiot.
And then keep in mind what I said earlier, where you have to zigzag your way back up the side of a sheer cliff after this.
POD in the background.
Also a big Sacramento band. I was as soon as he hit the water, I said, "Oh, here comes the boom." Ready or not, here he comes.
Oh, God.
And so we eventually we got him to like this rock, like a rock. We put him on a rock so we could just splay him out, and we had another sac. Well, I'm remembering a lot of
supposed to not
Sacramento
move
bands.
people when they've been in an injury like that.
Well,
yeah,
but if
to
you're
an
in the-
extent,
if you're
but-
in the water, you got to get him out of the water.
Yeah, we moved him pretty much like a handful of feet, just like floated him to a place where we could lay him
Holy
down.
shit,
and then we
man.
had a light like some California like Coast Guard. I don't know what it would be called. River Guard. What is that?
Yeah.
The freshwater Coast Guard.
Right. Yeah. The lake guard.
The college students that were there. That's really what it was.
Yeah.
The college students getting internship credit. And so, yeah, he gets carted off. And then a year later, like I said, never see the guy again for a year. And then I see him.
I got a metal spine, bro.
They did have to fuse several of his discs together, so he couldn't fully turn his back this way.
No looking back.
Ever? No, I don't have regrets, man. I can't look back.
I literally cannot look back.
Oh no! And then he probably won't listen to this. Like this is fine.
What, was he in a wheelchair?
No, he can walk and stuff, which is good. He can walk. It took a lot of physical therapy, but he just can't
Jesus.
fully turn his back around.
Well, you did a good job saving that dude.
I
man.
did. I got a lot of props for that. And then, but this is the fucking weird, like, just shows you how shitty high school friends can be. Because I was like 19, or I was probably like 17 at
Yeah.
the time. And we're at a venue, seeing a show, and he's at the show also. And he goes, "Oh, man, Kevin, dude, you're the guy. Like, people told me that it was you. Like, I have no memory of that whole day, pretty much.
Yeah.
But people told me you were the guy. Like, thank you so much. Can I get you a beer?" And I'm like, "Yeah, man, for sure. Like, I'm 17. Like, give me a beer. Give me, like, a Sierra Nevada." He's like, "All right, man, I got you." Goes away. And my friend sidles up to me and goes, "Oh, what? You're going to get the most expensive beer?" I'm like, he gave me a beer for saving his life. You're going to give me shit? Like, I didn't get a Coors Light or
Also,
something?
it's a Sierra Nevada.
yeah, not even that good. It's $6.
I would have said to hell with a beer. Get me a lobster roll.
Yeah.
Oh, you
Give me
wouldn't
a
want-
lobster roll and some cognac.
You would not want lobster from Sacramento.
Sacktown lobster.
Sacktown. Oh, that 916 lobster. You got that 916 lobster. Oh, that's good.
Whatever the most expensive thing is on the menu.
Yeah.
Caviar.
Orange cognac and caviar.
You can get cognac, but you have to put it in Mountain Dew. Like you have to mix it together with Mountain Dew.
That's doing it country cool.
So yeah, that was like the gnarliest shit and that bar, that was like one of the first places I ever had a.
We call it 7C, 7 Up in Hennessy.
7C and a 7.
Sail the 7 Seas. Jesus.
Throw some. What's the really bad rum that I'm trying to think of right now?
Ron Rico.
One step below. I don't know that one. One step below. Captain
Aristocrat.
Morgan. Sailor
Nelson.
Jerry's. That's the one I was
Oh
thinking
no,
of.
Sailor Jerry's is good.
Yeah, Ron Rico's the stuff that.
It's all right. It's all right.
It's got that kind of vanilla-y flavor
That's
to
It
it.
does, and if you
no.
mix it right with the right stuff, it ain't too bad for rum.
Yeah, for like if you're doing like a rum and coke or something.
If
I
you
like
want
it.
bartender fix me some boat drinks, that kind of shit.
Yeah, oh yeah, for pina coladas. Yeah.
Ron
That's fair.
Ron Rico is the Gatorade of a truly like dirtbag lifestyle. Like,
Is it one
you're
of those-
real low? Like it's the
What's
the
it called?
Ron Rico.
Ron Rico. Okay.
Is it one of those ones that's like it's kind of like a pre-made mixed drink sort of thing?
No,
that
it's
you're
like
drinking?
a plastic bottle.
Oh,
like,
gotcha.
Yeah, that sort of thing.
Say no more.
The only thing I have that's similar to what you just said, I still feel bad about this, but we went to.
This is Rivers as a preteen, so it's going to be awful.
Oh yeah.
Well, I like the idea that I have a story about saving someone's life. He goes, I still feel bad about this because
Well-
that guy turned out to be, or something like that.
What usually happens on this show is I remember the funny part of a thing, and then I start telling the story, and I realize I'm the villain of the
Oh,
story.
yeah.
This might be that. Let's see how this recollection goes. So there's a place outside of Auburn. This is a creek. So we got the lake, but then the lake is if you have a lake house. But
Yeah.
if you're just going out for the day and you want to take your family out to drink on the rocks, which is
On the rocks.
For real.
That sounds so classy.
like for real, I would go out there and they would be entire family reunions at just this big rock outcropping. It's,
wow.
it's south of Auburn. It's called the Little Uchi Creek, is what it's called. Yeah,
I love that.
Little Uchi. All of the
Little
towns,
Uchi.
all the geographic features in Alabama all have fantastic Muskogee names. But yeah, the little Uchi. And so you go.
Lil Uchi's my favorite rapper. by the way.
My hubcaps got stolen at the Little Uchi Creek.
no.
Yeah, that's what kind of place we're talking about. I had
It sounds like it's the kind of place that like Alan Jackson's character in the song Chattahoochee just hangs out.
no, it's where his shitty friends hang.
Chattahoochee.
Yeah, way down yonder on the Little Uchi. We didn't have as much stuff as the other place. Anyway, so the Little Uchi Creek, you'd always see like entire families would just go down there and just they'd set up picnic tables on the rocks in the middle of the river and shit and just be eating watermelon and fucking chips. So we go down there, and fortunately, this was a day where it was empty. There was no one down there. We were just like, fuck yeah. And so they had this little place. It wasn't nearly as intense as what you're talking about.
Yeah.
It was maybe I'd say it was maybe a 10-foot rock outcropping that you could jump off into the water. So it wasn't that intense. It was pretty low stakes. And I went out there with two buddies of mine, me and my buddy Raleigh, who's shout out to Raleigh up there in Brooklyn, listening from afar. Me and Raleigh would at least, both jumped off several times. And the friend that we took with us did not want to jump. And so we did the thing that you do when you're fucking 17. We both jumped off and we're in the water. We're like, come on, man.
Yeah.
Quit being a bitch.
Yeah. Oh, just break them down. Just break them down.
fucking- and
I
then-
already can tell Rivers is the villain.
Yeah,
of, this story.
of course. Yeah. And then, of course, he jumps off. He doesn't get the clearance and he falls on, directly onto his face. And he was fine. He was
Wait, did
fine.
he hit like solid land?
No, he hit
Oh,
the
okay,
water.
okay, good.
But
I mean, that still hurts. But
we
yeah,
were all
yeah.
like doing the toothpick, just jumping off, and, feet first, and it was fine. He tripped, stubbed his fucking toe, and then just fell
Oh,
as
man.
badly as you can fall into deep
Yep,
water.
yep.
So overall it was fine, but it just
And this is your fault, Rivers.
yeah. Oh, we goaded him into this. Yeah, this was Bugman, by the way. Yeah.
Oh, but all right, you saved somebody's life, and Rivers almost ended Bugman.
Bugman. Yeah. Shout
Here's
out
a funny story.
Bugman.
I engaged in petty vandalism.
I wasn't
Am I the
arrested.
bad guy?
Just a solidarity for you, Rivers. We also would do that to our
Of
friends.
course, that's what you do when you're a teenager, man.
We were at this one place. If you have any listeners out in Rockland, they probably know about the old stone quarry. It's a completely filthy, disgusting stone quarry that's just pure standing water. Green as
Are there any that aren't?
That's what I'm saying. Yeah, just felt like pure muck, disgusting, horrible place.
All abandoned stone quarries are just ongoing
Yeah,
ecological
that's-
You
disasters.
dive in and you come out looking like Swamp Thing.
Yeah. Oh, God.
So there's a tree there where you can climb up, and there's several branches where you can jump from. There's a lower branch and there's a higher branch.
Yeah.
And there's a guy, a friend of ours, who had never been with us before, so he wasn't like used to doing all the shit that we did. And he was on the lower branch, and I want to say it was probably me. I'm gonna just say it was me because I bet it was me. Was the person above him in the taller branch, and he was getting really scared to jump, and he was like talking about climbing down and stuff. And I was like, "No, man, you'll be fine. Like this, there's nothing. There's nothing bad."
This is the plot of the book, A Separate Piece, by the way. This doesn't end well for Finney.
No, it's similar, but it's so much more depressing, but not like violently depressing.
Yeah,
because
okay.
what ended up happening was I decided that the way I was going to get him to get in the water was to make it so he wanted to clean something off his body. And so I just pissed myself in my swim trunks, and it just fell down on top of him because I was above him. So my piss was just running down my legs.
Jesus.
No, I know. This is why I'm redeeming you here, because this is way worse.
This is worse.
And then he was just like, "Oh, come on, man!" And then he ended up climbing down and getting into the water to wash it off instead of jumping.
Into
so it
the
didn't even work.
disgusting quarry. Piss is at least sterile.
Yeah, he probably got worse getting into the quarry
I'm a
water.
little confused. So who peed on who and where was that?
I peed on him.
Was he down in the thing? You just pissed into it?
No, like he was below me in the same tree, and I was on a branch above him, and so I just, knowing that I was about to jump into this filthy quarry water that would clean me up, I just peed myself, and it just like ran down my leg and like sprinkled onto his head below me. That's what.
That is just disgusting.
Yeah. I wasn't
That's a
planning on
Rivers
telling that
move.
one, and then it came out. So that was not one of the ones I had in the chamber.
Rivers brings out the worst, in people. Particularly himself.
Yeah, that's true.
Austin, if you're out there listening somehow, I'm really sorry. I know we were really mean to you, and I hope you're doing all right.
Maybe we should bleep his name.
First name, he'll be fine. Let me get his address real quick. But yeah, so that was one that I did to offset my saving someone's life earlier story.
It was like a karma thing. I don't want to get a big head over this.
Yeah, I got to knock myself
I don't
down
want to be
a
too
bit.
good.
That's right.
At one point, we were like doing this so regularly. This is like 5 years into us doing this like every summer constantly. And we're kind of like, we were doing all the spots, all the jumps, and we're kind of used to all the regular stuff. And we're
Yeah.
like, we should kick this up a notch. What if we started doing like street theater? Like, because there's right by hiking paths and bike paths too. So there's a lot of people that aren't there to do. They're just out there to get exercise and stuff. And
Yeah.
they're walking like right by where we're jumping a lot of the times. And so we decided that, okay, someone's going to go down the path a ways around a bend, wait for some hikers or a biker to come by and then call us, let us know they're coming, and then put on this like performance of me having just been broken up with by my love of my life at 16
Just
and that
stop.
I can't. Please stop. And I'm like, I'll never love again, yelling bullshit, corny stuff. We weren't doing it like too dramatically. We wanted to make it silly, but also
Right.
and my friend's like, don't, man. And I'm like, no. And also the thing is, this isn't like a big ruse because I'm wearing like my lake shoes and my swim trunks and I don't have a shirt. Like, I'm not in regular clothes, you know?
Yeah.
But anyway, I end up right in front of them. I run and I jump off the thing, and my friend's like, "No!" And then when I hit the water, I swim under a bush that's on the side of the cliff, and I'm just
Yeah.
like hovering
Just,
down
like,
there,
hiding.
like, "Did it work? Did I get him?" And I can't really hear anything other than some mumblings up there. And then the only thing I hear, clear as a bell, is, "Damn it, Caroline, that was his choice." And that's it. So I'm like, oh man, that really worked.
Wow.
So that's probably the worst thing.
You
I've ever
really
done.
wanted to cancel that life-saving karma.
Technically, this happened before, so the life-saving thing happened later in my life.
so it
I think
canceled that out.
Yeah.
So then you were even until you did the pissed on a guy.
I think I was probably the worst person I could be in high school. Like all that stuff I got out really early. So like I look back on that stuff, I'm like, oh, that was funny. But in retrospect, like man, I was a piece of shit, that kind of stuff.
That's sort of the theme of my part of this podcast. I think. Wow,
I'm glad I got a brother here.
I was bad. No, the other creek. This one. There's Little Uchi. This one was called Sagahatchee, and the Sagahatchee Creek, which is out in Lochapoka, it was for sure on private land. Like there were no trespassing signs fucking everywhere, and but there was a rope swing that somebody had set up. And,
rope swings are big.
And they are always bad news. Like just people. Oh god, yeah. I never did the rope swing because I'm like, I'm under no illusions that this is going to go well for me.
Yeah.
I'll jump off of some shit,
but
fuck that.
Especially you get scared and you swing back towards the shore. That's when it gets hairy.
And then you hit the hill and roll down the hill.
I've seen that. Yeah.
So I've seen that a couple of times.
Oh yeah.
It sucked because there was actually 2 rope swings. One was kind of up on top of an embankment, and you could jump off of the hill like into the creek. And then the old man that owned the property cut down that tree.
Oh yeah.
And it fucked up the area where you could jump off too. So you could now neither swing nor just jump off in that part because there was a big ass tree in the water.
Oh yeah.
And then they tied another rope swing across.
So they
the
cut it
creek.
off and just left the tree in the water.
Just like
great.
It's his land. So
Yeah,
it's like
that's fair.
fuck you.
That's true.
And so he cut that tree down, and then there was another rope swing on the tree across the water, and that was there for maybe 2 months. And then he cut that down, and so I was like, oh, we should do the parable of the leprechaun.
Yeah.
We should just tie rope swings to every tree in the fucking woods, and then he can't cut them down. He'd never know which one we were using.
That's interesting. They would do that. Park rangers would do that at the place that we would go to. Also, like every other week, we'd go there, and like a new spot, like a new tree that we would jump out of or swing off of on a swing would be cut down. And it's like, isn't a park ranger supposed to be there to like preserve wildlife and stuff? And they're chopping on these ancient, like 100-year-old like trees and stuff like that.
Yeah, unfortunately, preserving the flora of the American River is not as important as stopping a lawsuit from
people who break their spines because they're drunk off of fucking absinthe or whatever.
Absinthe.
I don't know. I'm assuming. I don't know.
I was gonna say, what are you guys?
Is Edgar Allan Poe going down to the swimming hole?
No, we're gonna
upon a cliffside dreary.
gonna take some laudanum and
oh god, the cliff and the pendulum.
Yeah, there we go.
That's him swinging
out and then
coming back,
chicken out,
getting closer to hitting the tree on the way back every time, and feeling his fucking skin. Oh, that's great.
You're gonna get real drunk and have some Amontillado if y'all want to get up the courage to jump in.
Edgar Allan, bro. Oh god,
shit.
So yeah, that was a fun time in my life. I'll say that though. Most of that was a thrill and a chill.
And a spill.
Well, I was going to say,
yeah.
you talk about some sick injuries. Can you name any other good bumps that you've seen?
Like people getting hurt on the thing? Yeah, I can.
That's always good stuff.
There was one, I remember seeing the aforementioned China Wall, because there's a lot of brush and dry grass and stuff that most of it's cleared away, but on the edge of the cliff there's a little, and I've seen someone catch their feet in it as they're running to jump. Which they make it to the water, but it's kind of like what your friend did off the rock. There, you get tripped up and you just soar off like Superman.
Shit, yeah,
and
yeah.
I was surprised that he was mostly okay after. I was like, that dude must have got messed up. I saw somebody who got scared last minute and tried to stop, slipped in the gravel, and then just slid down like this dirty, grassy embankment, the cliff. They got cut up to shit on their shins and everything. That was pretty gnarly.
Fuck, man.
Yeah, that one was the one that I felt like had the most, other than the guy who broke his spine, the most physical evidence of really just getting messed up there. I remember this was the one that almost was the worst. Was a kid. I didn't know the kid, but he was just out a rope swing, and he wanted to do a rope swing backflip, where when you're swinging out, you kind of skin the cat a little bit.
Kick your feet up and yeah.
But what he thought he should do is like get upside down first and then let go. But he just got upside down and then didn't let go and swung back upside down, and his face missed a tree root by like a king's inch. It was. I thought that guy was about to lose a big chunk of his face. That was pretty insane. Oh Jesus! I can't believe I didn't think. My friend Colton. This is fucking insane. Okay, this was an intentionally fucked up thing. So. There was a tree that was probably about 40, 45 feet high, and you had to climb all the way up, and there was like a branch that would like curve out, or it was like a branch that stuck out and you could jump off, but over the years it was getting weaker and weaker, and so people stopped jumping from that branch because they could tell it like there was a lot of give to it. And Colton decided, this is 40 feet up. He decided, oh, you know what I'm going to do? You should film this for your movie. Like, he was barely, like, I barely knew him. Again, friend of a friend. But he's like, oh, I'll go up there.
Wait, you were filming?
That one I was
they're
talking
Jackass.
about. The Jackass knockoff
this is,
bullshit.
It was called, "Hey guys, watch this."
It's called We're All in Pain. He went up and he hung from the branch and intentionally broke it while he was holding on to it to see if he could ride it out. And he did it fine the first time. He broke it, and then he decided, well, the branch is now hanging loose, barely attached. I'm going to go get on it like a fire pole and yank it and try to ride it down into the water.
Yeah.
And he did just that, and it totally worked. It was insane. He rode this giant tree. I mean, he cut the shit out of his hand.
Right,
There was a huge gash in his hand from the tree.
Yeah.
But, but yeah, he went up and he like clambered onto this barely attached branch and just kind of like gave it a good yank, and then just just rode it down 40 feet like Dr. Strangelove.
That's such a vivid image. And I love it.
I can't believe I forgot about that until just now. That was probably
shit.
that was one of the gnarliest things I ever saw.
You're welcome.
I got a broken fist. 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 There was this boy who had 2 children with his sisters who were his daughters, who were his family lovers. I got no legs, I got no tongue, with eyes and home and face. I got no legs, I got no tongue.
The injury that was most prevalent amongst the places where I grew up was it was the
people lighting farts on fire.
pretty close.
The barking, burning spider took many of us.
Usually it was.
Shout out to Johnny Mose for that one.
Usually there would be a thing where it's either somebody getting like burned at a pallet fire. not like bad, not like go to the hospital bad.
Yeah.
But it's like, oh, we had a pallet fire in the woods.
And I forgot to put a pack of bottle rockets in the middle of that motherfucker, and they went off.
It's always a thing where it's like we had, we go out to the compound, which is just a clearing in the woods behind the bank.
It's where they shot Green Room. It's the compound.
And
Ours was...
and they got into a the other one was the old gravel pit. It was called Fraggle Rock, but
Oh hell yeah!
but there was the compound, and it would always be like somebody was like, yeah, there's a pallet fire, and we somebody poured gas on it, and then we were like, pour beer on it.
Yeah.
Lyle got burned pretty bad. One of
Did
those
people
sort of
always,
things.
and then eventually someone's like, well, I'm gonna jump over it. Like that's the thing.
those guys.
Yeah. Well, of course I'm gonna jump over it. It's a fucking fire.
Yeah.
That's how Jack Horner got started.
But there was
was that Jack Ben Nimble? I get them guys.
Jack B. Nimble.
yeah, but the other one would be they would have
Confused, man.
Jacked be nimble.
so there's a river that separates the mainland from the barrier islands, and there's always these smaller like islands that are there. They're like really small, nobody lives on them. They're just like woods. There might be it's just like some trees and land and sand and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And it would always be a thing where people would have parties out on those islands. And it would always be kind of masterminded by the kid that never wore shoes. One of those guys.
That's actually the plot to Jaws 2.
Yeah, it is.
I know the exact guy you're talking about. That's a perfect descriptor.
Yeah, it's
for
a guy
that
that never wears shoes, and he has like old flip flops or like plastic bags that he puts on his feet in case he goes to the no shoes, no shirt, no service place.
Does he carry a guitar too? Your guy?
Occasionally,
Okay.
but there's multiple ones.
Yeah.
There isn't just one.
No, I was trying to get an
Nobody's
idea.
really an individual. There's but it's always masterminded by that, and they'd always either and everybody would go, take boats, or some people would swim out, and there'd always be the person that was pushed the tub with the keg in it, and invariably there would always be they'd always play hideous music, really bad, especially bad, the worst of pop country or the worst of hip hop or the worst of butt metal, or they would have a radio that just played WJRR, the American River. But invariably, some knucklehead would always drink too much, whipped cream flavored Pinnacle vodka or something.
Oh yeah, God, I remember that.
And that guy would pass out, and people would just be like, leave him, he'll make his way back. And he'd always come back with this gnarly sunburn that just look like they should go to the hospital.
Oh yeah, and this is just from being passed out in the sun.
Yeah, or
right?
they would get eaten up by fire ants. Like they get a bunch of like ant bites and stuff. And it's just
I fell asleep in a damn ant-man.
again.
Yeah, because somebody would just like drink too much like birthday cake flavored.
Put the traps out next time. I don't want the damn ants all up in my nostrils.
Have you guys heard that new Uncle Cracker CD? It's pretty good.
It's just like, we were rocking out, and we were going pretty hard, and then Neil passed out. We didn't see him for 30 minutes, and then we saw he was covered. His foot was covered in ants.
That's horrifying to me because I have like kind of a bugophobia.
Yeah,
thing,
there's
that is my nightmare.
They'd always wear like Guy Harvey shirts.
Yeah.
Which is just basically if James Audubon did van art, but of fish, of like marlins and groupers and stuff like that.
Yeah. So Guy Harvey, for those that don't know, essentially they're all pastel colored T-shirts that have on the left breast pocket they say Guy Harvey,
and there's always a pocket because you got to have a place to keep your smokes
Or your dip or whatever it is.
Yeah, exactly.
your
and then
Coke,
on the back is always mahi mahi and swordfish never sharks.
Never sharks.
That's the weird
Interesting.
part. It's always
sports sharks are played out.
I mean, it would be something like a mako if there was a shark.
It's always sport fish. It's always shit you would eat. So it'd be mahi mahi or marlin.
How many people eat groupers?
Huh?
You said groupers.
Oh yeah, grouper's good.
Yeah.
People eat that shit?
Oh, yeah. Goliath grouper. I've had that before.
I think I had grouper for the first time recently in Florida. actually.
Blackened grouper. It's a good specialty of Commander's Palace in New Orleans.
But they'd always wear like Guy Harvey shirts, and they were either guys that did deep sea fishing as their job, and I'm doing the finger quotes, or was best friends with a guy who did deep sea fishing for his job. And they'd always have that, and then board shorts. If they were really into the fishing thing, it would be like a little bit shorter, and then like fluorescent colors.
Yeah, a lot of big bright oranges.
Yeah,
and
the sandals that have a built-in bottle opener.
Oh
what's this shit?
How's it taking this long to get to that thing? That's a huge indicator of a guy that's going to pass out on an anthill.
And they would always as they got older, they just got
the hill I'm gonna die on is a hill.
Yeah,
you literally died on the hill.
they all look like
defending grain alcohol.
Yeah.
Nobody talks about jungle juice like that.
Oh man!
Punch.
But they'd always grow up, and they'd always kind of vaguely look like Michael Anthony, the bassist from Van Halen.
Yeah.
But they would go with that whole outfit, and they would age, and they would get kind of leathery tan.
Well, we've sort of
Oakley.
We referenced him earlier, and I can't believe I didn't think about this. The defining person of this trope that we're talking about. Very simple. Late era Sammy Hagar.
Yeah. They're
board
living
shorts.
Yeah,
Yellow
Cabo
Oakleys.
Wabo.
Fucking beef jerky tan.
Ant wounds.
Yeah, ant wounds. Beer gut.
Or
owns a fucking tequila company.
The only thing that was that's vaguely, so they either look like kind of a Sammy Hagar, a Michael Anthony, or Nick Nolte in that mugshot.
Goddamn man, hell's
but that's when they get older, right? That's when they get older.
Yeah.
And they always hang out at bars. They have names like Scooters. Or Goombay.
Stinky's Fish Camp.
Bunkies.
Bunkies. I have a cousin named Bunky.
There's always a Bunkies.
I have a cousin named Bunky.
Sounds like a bunch of children's clowns.
I've lived in 3 of these type of towns, and all 3 of them had a Bunkies.
Is that? I think I'm doing 2 shows at a Bonkies in the middle of America.
Yeah, but week. There's then they at night they go or bars called Debauchery or something like that.
Debauchery.
Where the rodeo club.
Where the music is like a bunch of 14-year-olds doing 311 covers.
Oh boy.
Yeah.
That's a
My
bummer.
daddy said I could drink, so I don't give a fuck what the sheriff says.
Yeah.
Sheriff don't come around here.
He knows not to come around here. I'm George Jones's daughter. I beat the sheriff in a fist fight, so now I'm immune from the law.
Hey, Pat, you said
It's called double jeopardy.
You're saying the food that the bar serves is literally like a frozen pizza that they throw in a, like
Yeah, totally.
I know that bar.
Yeah, those bars.
I
and-
actually did a show at one of those places
yeah, those
where they
places-
straight up were serving frozen
those places
Oh, God.
rule.
It's great.
It was in Redlands, California, and on the menu was the Stouffer's French bread frozen fucking
It was
pizza.
like they're
It was the only food they
those
served.
places menu is basically
Why have a menu?
yeah, but it's the dream menu of the restaurant that you'd love and dream of when you're 9. It's just like
All microwavable pizzas all day.
And birthday cake.
And
It's
Hawaiian
just like,
punch.
and it's always like things like where it's like cheese sandwich $2.50, hamburger $4.
It's the
Fries market price.
yeah,
it's the menu you make for a Spanish project translating.
It's like the menu in a River City Ransom.
yeah, pizza rolls,
Or the River City Ransom game. Oh
like
my
beef
God.
jerkies
Yeah,
on
bagel-
the menu.
bagel bites.
Yeah, I went to one bar where they were straight up selling their special was Totino's pizza.
Rolls or just the pizza?
No,
Party
the pizza rolls.
Oh, okay.
So they're just like, they just call them pizza poppers. But like when they pulled them out of the fridge, they were like generic Totino's pizza rolls.
Oh yeah. I
It's
think
like this. What?
I was just thinking of the same bar. There's a bar in Reseda that does the same thing, and they have it on like a warming thing, like on the shit, like the bar. Like, oh look, we've got food, and it looks like 7-Eleven quality, like
Yeah.
sloppy wet pizza.
Well, I gotta ask, when is their open mic? I know they've got one.
It's Wednesdays and Tuesdays.
What's this place called?
Palladino's is now called Theory, a vintage parlor.
Oh, Jesus.
Oh, was that after their bar rescue makeover?
Yeah.
Where the bar rescue was,
But-
they just put fake vines on the walls. That was about it. They're like, oh, it's like an Italian restaurant.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's just like
And what's the new name?
Theory, a vintage parlor subheader, a vintage parlor.
Revenge of the Sith.
It's called Theory, a Star Wars story.
but yeah, no, it's just like it's just like they go through bar rescue and there's all this like jazzy stuff on there.
Yeah.
But they're still serving like pizza rolls.
Oh yeah,
and,
no, absolutely. Yeah.
It's weird that they
like microwavable steakum sandwiches.
It's weird that they made
Taquitos.
It's weird that they made it into like a pseudo-Italian restaurant, but then proceeded to remove the Italian name that it already had.
Right, Palladino's no Theory.
Theory.
Well, the weird
the
thing
Philosopher's Stone.
Harry Potter and the scary dive bar.
The only theory that I can think of that's associated with that place would be like, what would happen if I ate nothing but Jack in the Box?
It's the sequel to Super Size Me.
My theory is
Evolution is just a theory.
Got ants in my pants and I need to dance. Ah! Come on. Got ants in my pants and I need to dance. So big fine mama, come give me a chance. Hey.
So I was going to ask you.
Yes.
So you've decided to give up.
The cliff jumping.
Comedy's done.
Oh,
LA's done. You're saying fuck it.
okay.
I'm going back to what I know. Do you become do you get a lake house or do you get a houseboat?
Oh boy. Oh, those.
If you're
okay.
gonna become
Okay.
the river person and you're gonna get the bottle opener sandals, you're gonna get the beef jerky skin, you're gonna get yourself frosted tips.
Yeah.
What kind of, if you're just gonna be a piece of shit?
Which piece of
Houseboat
shit
is
am I
all
gonna
the way, man. Houseboat. People live in the damn things in China.
Yeah.
Jack Klugman lived on one of them damn things in Quincy. Houseboat is living a dream.
Yeah, I think for me, especially because Lake House seems like a lot more up. Like it seems like
That's
it's expensive, and I'm assuming because I'm making so much money in comedy right now that if I quit, I'm assuming I wouldn't be doing as well. So
Yeah. Well, and with the houseboat, you don't even have to like have a trash can. You just throw all your shit
Yeah,
overboard.
fuck it. Hey, they're already cutting down the trees here. Fuck it, man. I'm gonna throw this wizard staff. I'm gonna spear it in there. Maybe I'll catch a marlin.
awesome.
But I thought you would be more of a trailer on acreage guy.
I mean, well, I definitely am, but I mean, of these two choices,
We're narrowing
trailer
it
on
down.
acreage is my jam.
Well, that's your bread and butter.
I am more of a landlubber than y'all guys,
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
except for fishing.
I would say, yeah, I guess between the two, I'm gonna go with Goodnight on this one. I'm gonna say houseboat. because-
Houseboat is like trailer on acreage.
Yeah, and I like the tiny house thing too. That phenomenon, like
Right,
the tiny house,
minimalize.
minimalizing. I think I would be able to minimalize really
told,
well, especially
man.
when I'm just chucking trash into the river.
The girls don't mind if it's on a boat.
This guy's like Sonny Crockett.
Exactly. Guys like Sonny Crockett, they give it a good reputation.
I prefer to think of myself as a Captain Stabbin. If you guys are familiar with that, that off-brand MILF hunters genre of the early 2000s.
You mean the guy from the Love Boat?
Captain Stabbin. What would you name your houseboat?
Ooh, boy. Well, Captain Stabbin's out of the picture, so what's the next? You know what? Theory, a vintage parlor. Nailed it.
There we go. SS Theory of Vintage Parlor. Kevin, where can people find you on the internet, sir?
They can check me out with my weekly podcast, Bleak and Review, as you graciously mentioned earlier. I host every Thursday. We drop episodes. Me and my friend Matt Brousseau, very funny comedian. We interview LA comedians. We do a lot of improvised bits with characters and stuff like that. It's a lot of fun. Every Thursday, it's on iTunes, Stitcher, and all that stuff. Other than that,
just had on a friend of our show, Travis Clark.
Oh yes, Travis Clark made his second appearance on last week's episode, where we talked about how he had sex outside of Area 51 with his wife. Yeah. You should have him back on here
I
to
was gonna
talk
say,
about
we
that.
just talked about Woody Woodpecker. But
He lives a full life.
He really does.
hot damn, yeah.
He definitely lives like a champion.
He does, because he got into the club where you have to know Mickey.
Oh,
Yeah,
Club
yeah.
33. We
That's
also
right.
covered that on both episodes.
From Area 51 to Club 33.
and everything in between.
The man does it all.
Other than that, at KB Anderson Yo on all the social media things. And if you're a comic in LA and you're listening to this and you want to get stage time, we do open mic every Tuesday in North Hollywood
Yes.
called Killer Mike at the other door.
I cannot say enough about Killer Mike. It's my favorite mic in LA.
Oh, thank you.
With the I do love Cafe on Urban, and if you're really willing to fucking hustle and hit the ground,
Yeah.
you can do both.
It's possible. It is possible. I've heard stories from people.
They're way the hell apart, but I have done both on several
I
occasions.
also recommend Sal's Comedy Hole.
I like the mic behind in the garage behind Food for Less. That's always on the Comedy Bureau.
Alley behind Food for Less. Oh, LA
I
Comedy.
usually hit that up. I usually do three. Got $15. I'll do 3 sets at Marty's.
For 20, you can live there for a weekend. Apparently.
Oh man, but yeah, do check out Killer Mike out at Other Door
Oh, yeah,
in
it's fun
North
time.
Hollywood.
Fun
Fun
time.
as hell. Great bar. Great tacos on the patio.
Oh yeah,
outside.
yeah. Brooklyn's always out there cooking something delicious up. She's got that jerk chicken, and it's good.
Hell yeah,
it's good.
So be sure to check out Kevin online, and you can find us at The Goods Pod on Twitter, Facebook.com/TheGoodsPod. Big shout out to our webmaster Richard Eden up there in the North Pole doing the hard work at TheGoodsPod.com. Pat, what should the folks do when they get to iTunes?
What you're gonna do is you're gonna put on those flip flops with the bottle opener gimmicks in them.
Yeah.
You're gonna put on that Guy Harvey shirt with the Marlin on it. Put on your Oakley razor blades.
Yeah.
All right. Wear your cut off jean jorts. You go on that iTunes. You can give us 5 stars if you liked it, and review it. Subscribe to it and tell a friend, share the word. It shows the attitude of gratitude.
And if you don't got the attitude of gratitude, then fuck you.
May you die on a hill of ants.
Yeah, fire ants in particular.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
We'll see you next week.
Oh, Elijah, he never got a kiss. Oh, Elijah, he don't know what he missed. Is he any wonder that his face is red? Elijah, that poor old wooden head.
The Goods from the Woods was mixed, edited, and distributed by me, Rivers Langley. You can find the show on Twitter at The Goods Pod. Our theme song was composed by DJ Smiles. Check him out on Twitter at DJ Smiles.